Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I'm your host, BMR. I'll be joined by the Cryptid Huntress as my co-host. I'll bring her up in a second. We got a great show. Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio is in the house. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit the alert bell, smash the alert bell, and share us out. You can find us on YouTube at Texas Front Porch and Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Please subscribe. Also, subscribe to the Cryptid Huntress. She's got PLETHORA, as Dave would say, of things on her show. We have a great show tonight with Barry Littleton. We're on Odyssey Radio, iHeart Radio, Spreaker, wherever podcasts are found, including KPNL Radio. Thanks to the lovely Aunt Selene for that one out in Oregon. Again, you can find us on Facebook at Texas Front Porch. You can email us at paircryptidencountersbeyondbmr@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. And don't forget, the Super Chat is open. Yes, the Super Chat is open. Long after the show ends, the Super Share is also out available to you all. If you want to donate to the channel and help the cause, I do greatly appreciate it. Check out our channels, our About pages. We do more than just live shows. We got lots of great information for you guys throughout the week, from encounter stories and many, many other things. Also, don't forget, we do have Mondays, Texas Front Porch. That comes on at 7:30 in the East, followed on Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety, 8 in the East. Beyond BMR, my new show. We go beyond just cryptids, dog, man, and Bigfoot. We talk about everything else in this big spectrum. Also, Wednesdays, Serial Papers with Jason and Jason McLean questions. Everything, those are at 9 and 10 consecutively. Thursdays, right back here, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 in the East. Tonight, the Blondes and Booze. And on Fridays, the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woo. So we got a new team to the schedule, the lineup. And hopefully y'all go check that out. Don't forget Jessica Jones and her channel. She's also on Spaced Out Radio on the weekends. Saturday and Sunday, 10 o'clock in the East. And with that being said about the lovely Jessica, I'm going to pull her up right now. Jessica, how are you today?
Hey, Rob. I'm excellent. How are you today?
You know, I can tell you're excellent. You were all giddy just backstage talking about your great show that you got coming on with Barry Littleton. I'll be excited to tune into that one. Tell everybody what time that's on tonight.
Yeah, I have a show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to air 8 p.m. Eastern. I just pre-recorded it, actually. We are having, or Barry is having, big time storms out where he lives, where it's very cold. We both lost power this morning. So we figured we'd go ahead and pre-record for tonight, just in case. But he and I will be there in the chat tonight. We are going to look into weaponized portals, weaponized natural portals all over the universe, actually. And he tasked me with a blind remote viewing target, and I hit it out the park. And so this is going to be a fantastic show. You guys, please tune in tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern at the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube.
That's awesome, Jessica. And unlike me, you always think ahead. You think ahead. That's great. You know, Jessica, we got a great show. I'm going to bring up Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio to the show. And Dave, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, Bigfoot Rob. No place I'd rather be than matching bandanas with you tonight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and in fact, you made a quick wardrobe change. I did like the hat you had on, though. It was pretty cool. But thank you for matching up.
On.
Well, thank you for matching up. No, thank you for matching up. Hey, listen, we, you know, this is about the 4th or 5th time you've been on. If everyone should know about Spaced Out Radio. If not, go subscribe on YouTube and terrestrial radios. And so I want to make this we're going to bring out a whole platter. It's Christmas. You know, we have those platters. Everything comes out. We can get into some the woo, some UFO, alien, cryptid, whatever. And maybe, Dave, if you have any cool cryptid stories you want to talk about. Before we get started, though, I have to say something. As you know, I've been watching your show for 3.5 years, I guess it is, and love all your guests. Always have great content. But I got to tell you, and again, I love all the shows equally, but that other show you did the other night, The Night Stalker, I tell you what, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
I was gripped. It was gripping, compelling. I held on to every word. fascinating. And I just want to applaud you for that one, because every
Thank
once
you.
in a while you come up with something a little different, as we all try to. I get it. I love that show, man.
It was, I'll be honest with you. A lot of times when we have first time guests on the show, as you know, or as Jessica would know, you never really know how it's going to go. You have an expectation of what material you're going to talk about, but to see how the actual show breaks out, it's pretty, you can't control that. It, and so all of a sudden to have Frank Falzon and Duffy Jennings come on, and finding out that Frank Falzon, when he was uh, an investigator for the San Francisco Police Department, was actually the dude who figured out the name of the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, and within 24 hours of that happening, Ramirez was arrested. I mean, it was I never knew that. That was a fact I didn't know. And sometimes you get little gems like that when you take a chance and go out of your boundaries. And I think, one of the things like shows like mine or your guys is we get tunnel vision because of numbers. Your audience loves to hear about Bigfoot stories. My audience loves to hear about Bigfoot stories. Your audience likes to hear about UFOs. My audience likes to hear about UFOs. In Jessica's case, they love to hear about remote viewing. When I do remote viewing, it's hit or miss, right? I mean, but we get tunnel vision on our topics because we're always worried about numbers and everything. And I love true crime. Being a former radio journalist, it's something that excites me, because you get into some heavy details behind the scenes that maybe weren't brought up in the court case, or weren't brought up in from the police. And then when you get those juicy details, it just kind of opens up the eyes to what is going on, and it's a big thrill. It really is, to do something different every now and again.
What really got me in my gut was the fact that Richard Ramirez knew the lead investigator by name.
Yeah.
And blurted that out in the court, or down at the precinct, or wherever they were.
Well, one thing that I have learned through my time as a journalist and through talking to a number of true crime authors and reporters, these serial killers love attention. Mm-hmm. They love every story about them. It's almost like a sexual attractant for them, that they get off on seeing their name on television, or their crimes on television, or the newspaper, or hearing it on the radio. And I think with that, they, when you see a person like Frank Falzon, who would have probably been interviewed, about this case, that's how he would have learned the name, right? That's how he would have, memorized it. And a lot of serial killers, believe it or not, are actually very brilliant.
Yeah.
And they have high IQs, and they actually will study everything about their own case until they figure out that they've got the system beat, which eventually leads them to being caught, because they get cocky and stupid and dangerous. They leave, maybe they've never left a fingerprint before, but all of a sudden there's a fingerprint. They may have maybe never left a bullet casing, and all of a sudden there's a bullet casing, right? I mean, so it's a game of will. Yeah. And it's sad to say that, but that's the only way to put it.
No, I mean, I don't think you can put it any other way. And you even made mention earlier, we all have our the niches that we're in. This is cryptids, particularly during the day. I'm certainly trying to bring other things into play. UFOs, aliens, same with all of us, really. To get everybody's attention, you got to kind of set up your shows where everybody's interested, right? Because frankly, if you like cryptids, you probably are into UFOs, right? You're probably into high strangeness. And my first question, really, Dave, you've been doing this for a long time, many great guests, and I'm of the opinion of this, I like yours. I don't think it matters what genre you're into or whatever subject you're into, because my belief is this: they all come full circle and they all have commonalities, and I think they interrelate with each other.
I would agree. And I think that's part of what is scaring many people in the alphabet agencies and the Pentagon and Washington D.C. for those who are inquiring about it, is that what they are learning, and I have zero proof of this. Let's just be honest. I have zero
Right.
proof. It's just when you add up the facts of what you read over the years and the people that you talk to, you kind of get the impression that and this is where I've formulated my own opinion. I believe that what's scaring a lot of people about disclosure or whether it's disclosure of cryptids, whether it's disclosure of UFOs and alien contact, is because they are figuring out that it's all one phenomena. There is no cryptid world. There is no paranormal world. There is no out-of-body experience world. It is all one. And the sooner that we get investigators realizing this, the closer we get to answering some of these deep felt lifelong questions. And, look, we're not going to get disclosure from the government. Anybody who believes the United States government is going to say aliens are here and they're coming to join us, and we got a tea room booked for them at the White House, and we're going to meet Ock and his family. Okay, that's not the way it's going to go. Okay, they're going to try and hide this as long as they possibly can for their own reasons.
Absolutely.
And for the sake, Rob, that during COVID, the U.S. government was actually following how people treated each other in case there was an alien invasion, in case the aliens arrived. Because you don't get too many real-time opportunities to test out how is the public going to react during something large. And when the U.S. government saw people hoarding toilet paper, hoarding food, hoarding milk, ripping food and milk out of other people's baskets and hands, people going to the store buying $3,000 worth of meat, clearing out a meat section, because allegedly, cows don't procreate during COVID. Okay. Excuse me. It was eye-opening for them, and not eye-opening in a good way. Now, if you had something that, whether you believe in COVID or not, okay, that's irrelevant to the conversation.
Right.
Okay, whether you think it's a conspiracy theory or you wear 14 masks over top of each other, okay, it doesn't matter. What I am saying is this. It was the way people were being monitored during COVID. What are they watching on TV? What are they watching or listening to on the radio? What are the apps are they using? Where are they getting their news? The media did no favors with fear-mongering the entire population. They weren't covering a story. They were fear-mongering a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And add it all up, it was very easy to tell that when you have something like aliens, which is going to affect 7.75 billion people on this planet, whether you are living in the jungles of the Amazon, the jungles of Vietnam, or the concrete jungles of London, Paris, New York, Moscow, Beijing, Tokyo, it doesn't matter. This is going to affect everyone. And what they saw with COVID was nothing that really sparked their interest in saying, yeah, John and Jill Public are ready for aliens. We screwed it up.
No, I don't think John and Jill Public are, because during that stretch in the beginning of COVID, it was, as you mentioned, a nightmare in a lot of states, a lot of countries. And I can only imagine that if there was an alien presence here on Earth and it was just seen by everybody, I think this world, I think it would maybe fall apart. We'd have anarchy in the streets. That's my personal belief.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, though. It goes further than that, Rob.
Yeah.
it also goes into the fact that they also check what would happen with the stock markets.
Mhm.
What would happen with food? What would happen with organized religion? What about the nut bar religions out there who are waiting for that next UFO to pass by so they can hop on and take all of their congregates with them? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've gone through everything. Okay. What about all those preppers out there who have, 160 guns, 100,000 rounds of ammunition stored in a bunker in their backyard, right? Who
Yeah.
are prepared for the government coming to get them, which the government never will, unless you're in Canada,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
right? And,
Right.
but these are the people that they were concerned about. This is what, how is this going to affect the economy? How many people are going to see aliens in flying in from New York, and they live in the, on the 48th floor, and they're like, oh my God, it is real. I can't handle this. And they jump. Not to bring a downer to the topic, but
No,
this is all
absolutely
stuff
not.
that is true.
You
This
know,
is all stuff that is true that the government literally has been studying regarding ETs.
and I do believe all that. And it kind of, I know one of your least favorite movies is Jaws. My
Oh.
favorite movie is Jaws of all time. I seen it as a little kid, and I'm sorry to
Sick
bring
man.
that up.
Sick
know-
man.
But I don't know if you probably didn't. I don't know if you saw the movie. Probably not. There's a scene where, of course, now there's this big shark in the waters infesting New England, and so the sheriff put up a $10,000 bounty. So if you see in this movie, it's really a comedic part of the movie because all these yahoos are in their boats. They're driving like madmen out to the ocean. They're throwing dynamite into the ocean, hand grenades. They're firing their AKs into the water. And it got me to thinking, what if Bigfoot was known about? What if that was released? Disclosure happens. Do you know how many times? And even they did the bounty in Oklahoma. Can you imagine all the Tom, Dick, and Harrys out in this woods with rifles shooting up each other?
Yeah. I mean, do you really want to piss off? Look, we all know there's going to be some American out there, probably from the South, probably no dental plan.
Hey,
when he
careful
sees
now. Easy.
I
I'm from
said
the South.
man. You said man, not woman.
I didn't say me. I didn't think you were talking about me. I'm just talking about my people down here.
Well, I mean,
My cousins.
come on,
my
Jessica.
relatives.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. A dentist's dream is a NASCAR race, and the fans in there.
Hey,
You know how
careful.
many dentures they can
Easy.
sell?
Easy, Dave. Come on. These are my people. I used to race at the NASCAR tracks. Come on. Some of us have teeth.
Some.
It's
Anyway.
that's the key word.
She's brought it off the rails, but Rob.
Yeah,
Off the rails. Off the rails.
off the
It's okay.
rails.
Nothing new.
No, but that's okay. It is Christmas, and there was no set format today, just a platter of everything that Dave can bring us today. And speaking of Christmas, Dave, maybe we'll change this just a little bit. I'm starting to get. I got a pain in my left tooth now. I don't know. It must be psychological. I'm not a hillbilly.
NASCAR.
Dave, hang on. Okay, I got it together here. Ouch. Damn. Psychosemantics working in my teeth right now.
Oh my. Okay.
So, anyways,
Woo.
in the spirit of Christmas, during this time, Dave, I was doing a little research, of course, online research, and it seems like, and I want you to tell me whether you believe this to be true or not.
Sure.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot more UFO sightings or encounter stories that happen right around this time of year. Now, I want to ask you, do you believe that, or is it just some people having a few cocktails and just calling these things in? Do you think there's anything about that? And I'm not suggesting it's Santa, but you never know.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm 49 years old. I still believe in Santa Claus.
Well, I wasn't going to
I
admit
do.
that, but there is
I,
something out there.
I do. And, NORAD radar tracks them. And I do believe. Now, I mean, as an adult, I do know the truth, but I believe
Right.
in the magic of Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And I love that part. I'm a huge Christmas guy, and I just my children are 23, 19, and 9. They all still get gifts from Santa Claus every year. And I remember one of my oldest daughter, no, it was my middle daughter, one day asked me, she goes, Dave, there is no such thing as Santa Claus. I said, in my world there is. And I said, what's wrong with believing in a little bit of magic during a special time of year? And I told my children point blank, my young guy still really believes in Santa Claus, but my 2 older ones, I said, you know what? There is something magical about it. And I said, as long as I live on this planet, you'll always get a gift from Santa Claus. I don't care how old you are. And, turning that into UFO sightings, I think there's a lot of people who on Christmas Eve, whether they're agnostic, whether they're atheists, whether they're religious, whether they're spiritual, we tend to look up in the stars on New Year's Eve just to see if we can get the twinkle of the Bethlehem star, which is the North Star, or whether we can get the, see Rudolph's nose flying through the sky. And, I think that's what people are seeing. I mean, Rob, we also, not to, put a damper on it, but we also have to remember a lot of people who look up in the stars,
Yes.
they don't know what a satellite looks like.
Yes.
They don't know what the International Space Station looks like. They don't know what Starlink looks like from Elon Musk. And that triggers a lot of UFO questions because, people are just, when your eyes are buried in your phone or on Netflix or Amazon Prime or NFL football, which, by the way, look at those Raiders last weekend. Oh yeah. Anyways, I know, Rob. I know. But, people will call a lot of things UFOs. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a lot of real ones out there, because there are more and more sightings going up. You talk to any researcher, there are more sightings going up. But I mean, is it all UFO? No, I think it's a magical sight of somebody grabbing a little piece of the sky, taking 10 minutes to maybe remember a loved one or remember look at the heavens above, just to have some peace with themselves on a very beautiful, quiet day of family and remembrance, or whatever it may be for that person. And I think if they see something, I think more or less it's probably not a UFO.
Yeah.
But it is a UFO to them, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, because I kind of prescribe to your thought process when it comes to Christmas and Santa. I got a cool story that back in the day with my brother, he's got 2, at the time, the young kids, they're grown now. But my niece, I remember back when computers too kind of sucked, actually. I went on NORAD tracking Santa. So she would sit on my knee, we'd be in back of the computer. And I try to find this. And it's kind of this dumb cartoon image. You can tell it's fake. But she's like 4 years old, 5 years old. And I can tell she's smiling, pointing her little finger. So yeah, right now Santa's in Europe, he's over Africa. He'll be, by the time you get home, he'll deliver. So as the years went on, technology got better. The graphics got realistic, but she started to get older. And then, kind of like Uncle Rob, blah, blah, blah. But, to this day, because we always do Christmas Eve, she's 25 years old. And till this day, she'll always sit on my knee, and we continue that throughout every year. I'll do it till the day
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jess, does your son still believe in Santa Claus?
Of course. He's only 8. Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, Santa Claus is he's been looking forward to seeing Santa Claus for some time now. Until I remind him that he may be on the naughty list. I don't know. No, just kidding. I'm kidding. He knows. He's been very good this year, actually. My son has been amazing. And he's got an elf that's been watching over him for the past month. So, yeah, those elf on a shelves. What the heck is that, y'all? That's a lot of work,
So,
by the way.
elf on a well, I have to
Yeah.
say something. I know your son is pretty sharp. I didn't meet him in Alabama. When you said the naughty list, I hope he
You
doesn't know
did.
about I hope you don't know about Krampus yet.
He does. He thinks Krampus is awesome. That movie,
Okay.
Krampus, the newer version. He thinks it's awesome. He doesn't know Dennis Carroll version of Krampus. You know, the one where we talk with Dennis and
Yeah.
Krampus is taking kids to hell and eating them and all that.
Whips and
My son doesn't
chains.
know that version. He's too young to know that version, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think it's a good idea. If you heard
No,
that
he's
one.
just looking forward to Santa Claus this year.
Very good.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I was just thinking about the Christmas tales, and
You start thinking about
yeah,
Krampus.
it's a good thing.
Yeah,
You know, I'm thinking about Krampus. You know, I like I say, this is a special time for me because we have. Fortunately, I know a lot of people out there that maybe it's not a good time, right? And so I hate to like overindulge about it, but it's really my favorite time of year. A lot of great memories, and I'm gonna leave it at that because I'm starting to well up a little bit over here.
Yeah, man. You know, it's a touching subject. You know, there's two things I want to bring up. Right now, there is a woke movement of new parents who are like, I'm never going to lie to my child, and I'm not going to tell them that Santa Claus is real. I don't want to be one of those hypocritical parents and lying about Santa Claus being real. Believe it or not, there's been a bunch of articles on it lately about this new woke parenting idea of not saying Santa Claus is real. You know, and
That's
you know what? I
sad.
understand that we all fib to our kids about it, you know, but you know, let them enjoy some innocence. This is a hard planet.
Yeah.
It's not a fun planet. Life is hard. And if we could give children, you know, like I try and donate every year to different causes, and you know, people in our area will put, you know, like right now it's 35 below zero outside. You know, people will go and zip up jackets on power poles, and you know, people will knit scarves and gloves, and they'll put them and stick them on the you know, for anybody to grab, just in case you forgot your gloves at home, or maybe you're in need of a pair of gloves, you know. And I think we're trying to at some point allow children to grow up way too quick. You know, let them enjoy Santa Claus. But you know, the bigger point that I want to make is it's okay even for us adults to have that fun, you know, to enjoy, Rob, like you were saying, and just kick back and enjoy the fruits of your labor, you know, like and just enjoy watching, you know, your loved ones open up gifts and create memories. And the reason why I bring that up is I almost lost my mom earlier this year, as you guys, many of you know. And you know, thank goodness my mom made it through, but my mom's in a home now. And I was talking to my dad the other day because he was all distraught about Christmas and who's going to make dinner. And I said, Dad, the only thing you need to worry about is getting mom home. We'll take care of the rest. He goes, well, I don't have the money now to get you kids anything. And every year I'd like to get you a little something, because Dad will always slip us like $100 bill or something. We don't need it, but that's just his way of showing love. And so I go shopping at this store in my town called the Little Red Apple. And it's kind of like a you know, a cheaper down version of Walmart. Right. But anyways, long story short, I go and pick up some socks for my son. And this beautiful young lady behind the counter, when I go to pay, she goes, oh, socks, the best gift ever every Christmas. And it hit me right there. I said, this is going to be the first Christmas I don't get socks from my mom.
Oh,
Like, that's a tradition in our family.
Yes.
Mom buys us socks. Now, going back 30 years ago, 25 years ago, my mom actually one year did not get us socks because we were always excited to get socks, and she thought we were making fun of her until we were like, "Hey, Phil,
oh,
where's the goddamn socks?" Right? And she's like, "Well, you made fun of me last year about." No, we enjoy getting socks. So she was like, "Oh, okay." But then all of a sudden it was like, "I'm not getting socks this year. What the hell do I
oh
do?"
no, it's the little things,
Like,
Dave.
Yep.
Yeah, the
absolutely.
traditions.
So I talked to my dad the next day and I'm like, "Dad, I figured it out. I know what you need to do." I said, "You're worried about getting us all something?" I said, "Dad, we have a tradition. Mom always had a tradition of getting us socks." I said, "They don't cost much. It's not going to break your budget." I said, "But how about just going to Walmart and getting us each a pair of socks?"
Mm.
And I said, "Dad, that's the family tradition." And he started crying and he's like, "I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. That's a great idea. I'm going to do that." And so, it's like you said, Rob, it's the little things. Thank you for letting me share that. But it's the little things, like you said, Jessica, that, we got to remember.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And I got many stories I can go on about. I will tell one other story. What really got me? I'm a guy that likes to give, and this show has kind of gone a little differently, but it doesn't matter because we're doing what we want to do here. And I I own my bar, Dave, as you know, for several years now. After starting year 5, I noticed a lot of families that come into my place of business. Some people had money, some didn't. They all had families, they all had children. And over the years, I started hearing right around Christmas time about people who couldn't afford a Christmas for their kids. So one of the things I miss most is for the last 5 years prior to my sale, I closed up the place at noon on a Friday, and I started donations and collections, and we filled up the entire bar with nothing but presents all over the place. Opened the doors, had all these kids come in. I had one of my cooks play Santa, sat there, and every kid got at least 4 or 5 gifts, donations, whoever kicked in, chipped in. And that was Christmas really stuck with me when I could see these little kids knowing now that they had something to believe in. So, again, when I talk about Christmas and get emotional, it's because a lot of things can happen. It just brings us together. One of the few times I think that unites everybody. So,
That's awesome, Rob.
Mhm.
Absolutely awesome.
And yeah, so why don't we switch subjects here a little bit, Dave?
Okay.
A lot of my guests or audience coming on today. I don't know. You have how's your gifting site working out over there? I remember you were talking about it on the show, and is it dried up over there? What's your latest?
Well, we can't get to it
Right,
because there's too much snow. And right now it's really dangerous up here because you have the snow buildup in the mountains where this is, and you have the extreme cold temperatures right now, where with wind chill it's around minus 48 to minus 50 Celsius. Like right now outside the studio, it's actually warmed up to about minus 28 Celsius, which is about minus, I think, 17 Fahrenheit. Last night, it was close to minus 40, which would be minus 40 Fahrenheit. And it's just too cold to take a chance in case something breaks, to be in the middle of nowhere because you can't get back. You'll freeze to death, right? Unless you're on a snowmobile. And so our gifting site, we haven't been there in approximately a month and a half. And we won't be able to get there until about April if we're lucky. But man, we had some weird stuff happen there this year, man. Weird stuff. And it really took off in September, October, really took off. And I just hope that next year it will be the same type of activity. And so for your listeners who don't know, we found a site earlier this year on Mother's Day, to be exact, where I had found just driving along one of these backcountry roads that I'm very familiar with. I found a 13-inch track. And so we ended up casting it. And as we kind of explored the area a little bit more over the coming days and weeks, we found patterns of X's all through the trees, including a straight line of 3 of them. That was very weird. We ended up putting a gifting site up. I put in a mirror at the gifting site, like a handheld mirror that you would buy at a dollar store. The next week we went back. The mirror was knocked off the tree branch that it was on. And what was strange about that is the handle of the mirror was actually tucked into the grass, which to me didn't make very much sense. And I think I got a photograph of that somewhere while I'm talking here. But, we then started kind of building up the trust, and talking to people such as Bigfoot Rob and Jessica and Duke from World Bigfoot Radio and Carter Bouchard and many others. You learn to kind of see what works and what doesn't. So this is the photograph I'm talking about right here, which is the handle of the mirror was tucked into the grass.
Oh, yeah.
If that mirror falls straight down, that handle isn't tucking in. That's
interesting.
What weirded me out about it.
It was put there with care.
It seemed like it. Now, it hasn't moved since, but we started doing things there. We'd go there in a group. We'd park in the same spot every time. And then it wasn't until September we started getting strange action. It started off where we had a big bonfire. Nothing happened, but you could feel there was a presence around. We went back a couple weeks later, and we were watching fairies on both sides of the logging road in the trees. And, we're sitting there. It's a clear, warm summer night, and here we are watching these little orbs of white light all of a sudden blink in and out throughout the trees. It didn't matter if the tree was 40 feet tall or it was 5 feet off the ground. We were watching this all around us. We went back the following week, and that's when the UFOs came, where we actually watched a UFO manifest itself right in the sky into a triangle of light. And that thing knew.
Wow.
That thing knew the minute I was starting to pull my phone out of my pocket to take a picture of the triangle, because the minute my phone got about 2/3 of the way out of my pocket, the bottom 2 lights of the triangle dipped out. And then the top one faded away.
Wow.
And it was strange. It was strange. We went back the following week, and this would have been mid-October at this point. No, mid-September at this point. Went back the following week, and the minute we turned onto the logging road, my site is about 6 miles off this logging road, up this logging road. The minute we turned up that logging road, there was something wrong. And there was my partner, there was my buddy Mark, there was me and my son. Okay. And I'm driving, and everywhere I am looking, I just felt like I needed to be on guard. Mark felt he needed to be on guard. My partner felt she needed to be on guard. And everywhere we went up that logging road, I was seeing things like pareidolia of aliens everywhere. Like I'd look in a tree, I'd see the alien face like it was looking at me in my headlights, pull up to it. Well, it's just the way the tree branches were shaped. And I saw this 8, 9 times on the way up, right? Mark was
Wow.
getting a very heavy feeling on his shoulders. So was my partner. And we got up there and stepped out of the vehicle. And Mark gets a telepathic message that said, better not bring your gun out tonight. It'll be really bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't leave. We were there 40 minutes. Now, usually we're there anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. We left within 40 minutes. We did not allow my son to come out of the vehicle. I kept the vehicle, my truck running the entire time, just in case we had to flee. And it was the most negative place I'd ever been. And I don't know what the hell was there, but there was something there that was completely off, completely wrong, and none of us wanted to be there, and we got the hell out. But we go back the following week, and it's like there's nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. Nothing happened that night, just a bunch of satellites. But it was like complete game changer, complete polar 180. Go back the following week. Go back the following week. And this is now Thanksgiving weekend in Canada, which would have been around October 8th. And there's 4 of us there, my buddy, or 5 of us there. My buddy Mark in the distance hears a tree snap. And we put the flashlights up, and there's the 10 to 12 foot Sasquatch standing about 100 yards away from us. And my buddy Mike, Mark, myself, and my son all saw it, standing there, staring right back at us. And my buddy Mike walks over, and, we're kind of looking at him like, hey, get over here. There's a Sasquatch over here. Put the flashlights back up. The Sasquatch is now crouched down. And we could see it crouching down. And, we're like, okay, well, let's start our walk forward. You're kind of shaky with the flashlights, bring it back up to the area. He's gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we went back a couple days later into a different area, and that's where we found a couple of 16-inch left-footed tracks, which is weird because
only the left foot.
Yeah, first time I've seen left-footed prints.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's an area of high strangeness, Dave. Sounds like my kind of an area.
Jess, I would love to take you there. The problem with that area is there is no cell phone service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jess, I would love the opportunity to be on the phone with you and have you remote viewing in while we are investigating, because there is one little dirt road cul-de-sac area in there where none of us go at night. Like, there is freaky crap in there at night.
Wow.
And
Dave, I could remote view that area for you. I could remote view the whole area for you before you go.
Yeah.
Mm.
I would love that. I would love that. We've worked a lot with Robin McCrae as well. And like that time we were having that negative night, Robin actually read into that. And, when I first met Robin through Duke Sullivan, I was like, really? Psychic Sasquatch lady? Okay. I'm into the woo. Let's check this out. Okay. Why not? Makes for a good topic. Hot damn, is she amazing.
Yeah.
She is absolutely amazing. And I'm so thankful that all of you guys introduced me to her, because I feel really blessed. She's such a beautiful soul too. But, in talking with her, like that night that everything was negative, she thinks that it was one of 2 things. Number one, the Sasquatch were putting out a real negative vibe and energy that night because there was something alien there.
Yeah.
Or there was already something alien or nefarious on the ground that they didn't like, and that's what caused everything to spook. Like, there wasn't even a bird chirping that night, not an owl, nothing. you know, and it was just freaking scary that night. But yeah, I mean, Jess, if you want a remote view in on that area, I'll give you a map. I'll show you where it is, and we can do that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, that happens when we're out doing our research. We don't ever have animals are gone. No squirrels, no birds, no nothing, and no cell service.
And do you think too, Dave, Jessica? I hear those stories all the time. I know you have Sasquatch over there. That's what you were looking at. But you also have these stories of a lot of these entities too. All these things like that are like alien, and I don't mean like aliens from outer space, just alien or paranormal. I think a lot of the times too, your intentions are read, I think, prior to going into a forest, right? And I think a lot of times some of these things try to trick or play games with you to lead you into believing that there's something more than what's really going out there, to change the narrative.
You want to take that one, Jess?
I'm sorry. My son is knocking on my door. I missed the question.
Well, that's okay. I was just talking about, you think sometimes a lot of these things.
I'm sorry.
It's basically this. Dave was talking about that encounter. Definitely Sasquatch, Bigfoot. Do you think, though, there's some things out there that are posing as these things, Jessica, to try to, because they have other nefarious intentions? You think
posing those things as Sasquatch?
Yes.
There's all sorts of weird entities out there. I don't know what I'm dealing with when we're out there. I mean, as far as like vocalizations and things like that, absolutely. Yes. Where I go, we do have a lot of Sasquatch families there and activities. You just don't know unless you see it with your own eyes. You really don't know what you're interacting with sometimes.
Yeah, and Dave and Robin is a fabulous source. I had met her about maybe a year ago, and I had her on a show. I was talking with Robin, and then it was through Duke, and so she and I had become friends. And I met her. We're doing a show. She never heard about now she could have heard about my encounter story that I did have. And during the middle of a show, Dave, Jessica, Robin says, "Hey, Rob, Delano said he meant you no harm." And I'm like, during the show, and I'm like, who the hell is Delano? She goes, that's the Bigfoot you encountered back in 2018, and he meant you or your girlfriend no harm. And I was kind of floored, and I'm still kind of skeptical. I'm thinking, well, anybody can hear my encounter story, but it's what she said after that I never told anybody except myself. She goes, yeah, there was a red barn about 100 yards or so due south of where your boat was drifting. I've never said that in any of my stories, Dave. Not one. Not one. And she said a few other things that hit me like I was just flabbergasted. So am I a believer in these? Yes, I certainly am. She had made mention that the reason that it did what it did is because there was children in the area and did not feel me as being a threat. However, wanted to make sure that I got the hell out of there. And it knew about what had happened to my girlfriend through Robin.
Yeah, Robin's the real deal. She's the real deal. I actually got to meet Robin in person at the Georgia Bigfoot conference this year. And she and I instantly connected. So she's the real deal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And she's so nonchalant about it too. Like, oh yeah, old Doc over there. He, you caught him in the middle of taking a piss, and his wife was at the local Bigfoot bingo hall. I mean, it's hilarious. It really is. And she's so matter of fact. It's absolutely awesome. I love and adore her, and her energy is just so amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's just so amazing.
she is amazing, and she's actually going to be hopefully coming to Michigan, and I'm definitely going to have to hook up with her and go out because yes, I just can't wait for that because I love to meet her in person. She is a fabulous person. With that being said, Dave, we're coming up on our first break here, top of the hour here, and give us 5 minutes. Everybody listening on iHeartRadio over there in Odyssey Radio, you want to go over subscribe, Bigfoot Mr. Rob, Texas Front Porch to catch the second half. And we'll be back as soon as I can find the button here. We'll be back shortly. Thanks a lot.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
thanks for everybody for tuning in tonight, or to this afternoon, I should say. Midwest Night Watchers, thank you for that super chat. Very much appreciative of you. Thank you. Don't forget, we're on about 4 days a week. A lot of variety. Go to our About page and subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob, Texas Front Porch, the Cryptid Huntress, Spaced Out Radio, and Dave Scott. I'm going to bring up my lost Jessica, it looks like. She's going to try to get back on. Dave, man, once again, thank you so much for joining the show today. It was a great show. Thanks for coming aboard today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, Rob, I just want to let you know that if there's any background noise going on, I've got some contractors here at my house who are doing some work upstairs. So if there's any noise, I'm going to try and mute when it gets loud. But just in case something does happen, I just want to let you know that I have no control over the noise right now.
You know, when you go live, things do happen. Trust me, I've had many problems with that. Jessica just had a little issue there. I mean, it just goes on and on, especially where I live. I live in an area there's still telephone poles, and I've got the best setup that you can get as far as cable goes, and they just go out. And I get it, and I appreciate it. And thanks for coming on. Jessica, you're back with us.
Yeah, my StreamYard just shut down for no reason. But I mean, I keep kind of freezing up too. I don't know what's new.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I need a new computer. I think maybe Santa will bring me one.
Well, maybe he will. You never know.
Who knows?
You've been a good girl.
I have been.
We were talking a little bit earlier about your gifting site, your area out there, Dave, and one of the fascinating stories that you can tell, and I'd like to hear some of our audience might not have heard about the triangle where you're sitting out back and it just kind of approached over your property. I found that to be fascinating, and I think it's a great story. Oh, you're on mute, Dave. You're on.
Sorry, they were drilling upstairs. The one in the forest, or
yes. Well, the one in the fort. Well, there was one. Were you out back just stargazing one night with some friends?
Well, I have seen 3 triangles.
Yes.
Now, the first one that I saw was back in 2014, and it was weird because during that part, this is even before the start of Spaced Out Radio, months before the start.
Okay.
I was, or was it 2013? Maybe it was 2013. Yeah, it was 2013. I was getting to the point where a lot of weird stuff was happening to me personally. And the good part for me was, and look, a lot of your audience may not believe me. My audience may not believe me. Frankly, I don't care. I don't say that to be rude, but I know what happened to me. And all I have is anecdotal evidence, which is my voice to explain what happened. And during this time, I would actually call friends over to the house and say, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" And they'd be, "Oh, not too much." I said, "Well, why don't you come over? We'll have a fire in my patio fire pit. We'll have a couple of beers, and we'll watch some UFOs fly over." UFOs, really? Yeah. So this one night, a couple friends came over, and we had the music playing. We're sitting on our patio. It was one of those nice, warm spring nights, and it was about 10 o'clock at night when it just started to get real dark, and we watched this orange rod with 2 silver orbs, one on each side, rip across the sky from southeast to northwest. There was no contrail. There was no spark trail. It was just like an orange, a lot of places have those orange street lamps, those orange colored street lamps. It was that orange of color. It was way up in the sky. And we watched it go. We watched it for about 5 seconds, and then it disappeared. And my friends were like, "Holy cow, how did you know that was going to happen?" I said, "I didn't know." I said, "I just knew." I said, "I don't know how to explain it. I just knew." I said, "But the weird part about it is I don't think we're done." And about half an hour later, you know, when you're drinking a bottle of beer and you get near the bottom, you just kind of tip your head back. So I'm drinking a bottle of Corona, and I tip my head back, and I look up above my house, and I put the bottle down. I said, "What the F is that?" And my friends go, "What?" I said, "Look up." And right above my house, there was a black triangle sitting there, and the entire undercarriage was these orange rods connected by these silver orbs.
Wow.
And I'm going to say it was about maybe 3 to 5,000 feet. And it started silently moving north very slowly. My friend's wife, who grew up Catholic, she collapses on our patio and she's doing Hail Marys like, "This is not real. This is evil. This is demonic. We got to get the hell out of here. What the hell is that?" And I'm sitting here, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm crapping my pants at this point. And we watched this triangle like a door opened up in the sky. We watched this triangle fly into this door, and from the tip on back, as it flew through this door, it started disappearing. And then a few months later, I was with another friend hanging out, and this black triangle that we saw, she had this on her driveway. She had this row of trees that kind of looked south, and she was sitting facing north. I'm kind of standing facing south, and we're having a real in-depth, deep friend conversation. And all of a sudden I said, "What the hell is that?" And she goes, "What?" And I said, "Look behind you." And we saw the 3 dots of this massive triangle. We could not see stars behind it. This thing was so big, God is my witness, on my children, I'll even swear on my children's lives. This thing was so big that if you would have laid it down on the ground, it would have covered my entire city.
Jeez.
It was that massive.
Wow.
And we watched the 3 corners that just look like stars start to rotate on its axis. And then all of a sudden it stopped, and in our peripheral vision, we could see an airliner coming from Vancouver over the flight path. And as that airliner approached, all 3 corner lights, one at a time, turned off. But we still couldn't see stars behind it. And the lights never came back on. The airliner went past. And the next thing we knew, we could see stars in behind, like it was gone. And that was trippy.
Wow.
And then
That's amazing.
I hadn't seen another triangle until the one morphed a couple of months ago, where the 2 bottom lights were there, and then the top light of the triangle turned itself on. So, I mean, they were 3 totally different craft. Don't really understand what they are. Don't know where they came from. Don't know if they're ours or theirs, whoever they are. But it was just real interesting, man. Real interesting.
You know, a craft that big, you know, to land on covers a city block. My only question that I would ask is, did anybody else, was that, I know where you live is kind of remote, and not even regarding your story, because we hear a lot of these big craft a mile long. Was there any reports or anything? Did anybody else see that night that you're aware of?
Nothing. And British Columbia, where I live, has an absolutely horrible reporting center in UFO BC. I don't know if it's because they're short-staffed. I don't know, but it took like 6 weeks before somebody actually got back to me on my report that I filled out. And like I said, this is way before Spaced Out Radio, where I knew who I could talk to or where to take that report. I would take that report to a number of different places now before I ever reported it to UFO BC again. Right. But I didn't know. Like the one that I had this year, I don't report things. I'm one of those idiots who doesn't report things, okay, to groups. They don't need my report. Okay.
Yeah.
Not and I want to put it out there too. I'm not a researcher. I'm not like Jessica. I'm not like Super Duke, okay, or anybody like that. I'm not a researcher.
Right.
I'm very amateur at this. I don't care if anybody believes me or not. I don't care if my stories ever get out there. I'll never lie to my audience.
Right.
And I think I built that trust with our audience and the people who support us. I'll never lie about what I've seen or what I've experienced. But I am out when I go out in the field, guys. I don't go out with cameras. I don't go out with gear. I don't go out with, do I have some gear? Yeah, I have a FLIR gun. I have I have K2s. I have a camera on my phone. I have a drum. I have night vision. Okay. I've got some stuff, but I'm not there to prove anything to anybody. I'm there for my own personal experience and my own selfishness. And so when I go out looking in my Sasquatch area, or I'm going out on a paranormal investigation, I want to feel it. I want to see it. I want to touch it. I want to experience it. And I want to absorb everything that I can, because I'm not a researcher. I don't know how to research when it comes to this. And from what I've seen from most researchers out there, they have no clue what to do with their evidence anyways. Right? There are very few who actually know. And the big joke I have on Spaced Out Radio is, how do you screw up a paranormal investigator? And the question is, well, how do you? Well, you ask them, what do you do with your evidence? Well, what do you mean? We go over our evidence. Yeah. What do you do afterwards? What do you mean? They can't answer that question. The answer to that question is, you should be sidebarring with other groups who've investigated either that same place or have had similar results, because that's how you advance the field.
Absolutely,
Right?
Dave. I agree with you on that. 100%. And I actually I did a pre-record for my show tonight with Barry Littleton. He had me remote view something. It ended up being weaponized portals, and I didn't know what I was remote viewing. It's blind targets. So I was right on target with it. And it was really interesting, because what this did today with the show that's going to air tonight was, when I first met Barry, he was speaking at a conference. We both had an interest in portals. My team experienced portals. He had experienced some sort of black cube, and we were putting our information together. Let me tell you guys, over the past year and a half now, he and I have collaborated on so many projects and so many shows, putting all of our information together. We may have some answers tonight on our show finally, with all of our research that we've been doing. So and we talked about this very thing today. We're going to be talking about tonight is how important it is for all of us researchers to actually collaborate and put our stuff together, all of our data together, because this is how we're getting some answers finally to some of these mysteries, including portals.
Absolutely.
Portals all over the universe. Y'all tune in
Absolutely.
tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern.
And that's the way it should be, though, Jessica. There should be, if we actually, you think about the amount of brain power that is in our fields. We have some brilliant people, whether they're top-notch doctorate scientists working at universities, or whether they are the average person who works a daytime job but has had some incredible experiences that they've decided to investigate. We have some of the most brilliant minds working on UFOs, on cryptids, on ghosts, and we're not taking advantage of it. We're totally not taking advantage of it. Imagine how much further we would be if we were to put the ego aside and thinking that we're going to make $1 million a year like Zach Bagans on Ghost Adventures. Okay. If we were to put the egos aside and actually try and solve some of these incredible mysteries, I bet you we would be way further ahead than we are today. But I mean, like here in British Columbia, we have paranormal teams out there that are trying to lock down every location under contract. So they're the only ones who can investigate, yet they barely do an investigation a month. We have teams out there who don't want to share locations because they're afraid someone else is going to tamper with that location. We have, people out there who are chasing around. No, we have people out there who are running around the Sasquatch world yelling that they're going to find the big hairy monkey. I mean, it's ridiculous, and everybody's allowed their own opinion and everything like that. Hey, do it, whatever you feel. But there is a lot of brain power out there that if that brain power ever decided to work together and trying to solve the mystery rather than working on clicks and views and subscribers, we would be a hell of a lot further ahead than what we are now.
Yeah, we would be, David. And again, you're not a researcher. Heck, I'm not a researcher, and I respect your opinion, your stance on, because if I'm out, I'm doing it for myself. I'm not going to put out anything to the public or anything. I don't think. I mean, I always get asked the question, Rob, how come you snap a picture? Well, I sure as hell wasn't going to snap a picture on a boat, seeing something that took my mind into a different space. Girlfriend flips off the boat. Yeah, I was going to get a picture. I always love when somebody asks me that. But my thing is this. On various talk shows, I haven't seen it on your show, not on this show. My biggest pet peeve, though, are these people, because I agree. If you are in the research field, you should share your evidence. As you said, everything you said, Dave, I'm with. The thing that gets me are some of these people that will go on a show and they will say that they've got the video, they've got the photograph, and they go on and on and on. And then maybe the host of the show is saying, well, do you have these? How come they're not published? And like you mentioned earlier, Dave, they just don't have an answer. And the thing that stinks about that, Dave, is this. People that are interested in this and that are actual researchers and want to delve further into this, it hinders everything. And then now you get a lot of people that say, hey, this stuff is full of crap. This guy says this and that, can't provide any picture that he says or claims to have, but doesn't. So that's right there. If I'm a novice, I'm turning it off and I'm going to be a non-believer.
Mm-hmm. The other thing we got to ask too is, what is proof?
Right.
Nobody knows what proof is.
Proof is getting your hiking boots on and going out in the woods and figuring it out for yourself, actually. In some cases.
But that's for you.
If you really want to know. That's for me. That's right. I got to say something, Rob. Can I actually interject something here?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So I am part of who does have a lot of evidence that we have not shared publicly on a world stage yet. Okay.
I know.
So there's reason for that in a lot of cases, especially when you're doing ongoing research. And Dave, to cover your point as well, it is okay to not tell everybody in the world your research locations, because then it goes and gets completely, people go in there and it messes up your research if you've been researching an area for a really long time, like my team has. So there's reason for us not to give away locations and things like that for the research. As far as the research team goes. But that kind of, we say we've got this portal that we have documented. Well, we have that, but it hasn't been released yet. We're still researching that, and it will be made public one day. That's not up to me. I'm not the one with the video. So I can argue these points here a little bit when it comes to the research, as opposed to the public and things like that. But
again, too, Jessica, at least I know I've heard you talk about that many times, but at least you do give validation or really good points as to why. And you say, hey, look, one day perhaps.
Well, and you've seen the video, actually. You've seen the portal. You went to an actual, that's why it's important for people to go to conferences and to actually meet these people who do the research, because we do information out there, just not on the World Wide Web always. Maybe you got to go to a conference meet those people and see the real evidence. Things like that. I'm just saying, I got to back up my research friends on this one.
But you're building towards something.
Yes.
The majority of people, Jessica, are not building towards anything. Okay. They're locking down locations and areas for the straight part of ego.
Yes.
Okay. They want to be the man, or they want to be the woman.
Not cool.
They want to be, the head investigator in charge. They want to be the number one person. That way, when the local news television camera does a spooky story on Halloween, they're calling them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and they also want movie deals and things like that. They're expecting to be on television.
Absolutely.
See, I'm not. So
and that's
I guess it's different.
And that's what's sad to me.
I know there's no money in this.
Yeah, and that's the terrible thing. A lot of people, I'm going to guess, I don't know what number. I'm going to throw 60%. A lot of people are just in for it to make a quick buck. And that's why it's so hard today to determine whether something is valid or just blowing smoke, just to have 15 minutes of fame, get the book deal, get the movie deal. And that makes it so hard for the genuine researchers out there to get their views across. And that's why a lot of them are just taken like a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's not a lot of money to be made in this field unless you're doing a TV show or something. And I don't watch those. So,
but the idea behind it though is this: everybody's proof is different. My proof is different than your proof, Jessica. My proof is different than Rob's. My proof is different than every single one. So when we sit there and we come in and we say, like, I'll get a lot of people, for instance, on my show who are newcomers to my show, and they'll look at a guy like R. Keith Andrews, who's way out there in left field. Okay. I love the guy. He's way out there in left field, but all of a sudden they'll start ripping me. How do you have a guy like this on the air? He's making all these statements and he can't prove one. Well, hold on a second here. What is proof? Okay. You choosing not to believe him is opinion. It's not proof. You choosing not to buy his story is not proof. To him, this is what he has been told in his interactions with extraterrestrials or other types of creatures. Okay? You don't have to believe him. Hell, there are times I don't believe him, that it sounds too far-fetched. But who am I to say that without ever standing in his shoes or any other investigator's shoes, whether going through the chat room, whether it's Super Duke, whether it's Nate Rudd or his son Hallmark, whether it's Brian Bowden, who has 12,888 podcasts simultaneously he's hosting. Okay. I mean, whether it's anybody, who am I to sit there and say, when I've never stood in your shoes, that you're wrong just because I don't believe you? Right. And that's a big issue that we have that's why I always argue, what is proof? Because your proof, the one thing we've learned about the phenomena is we could have all three of us standing in the middle of the forest and only one of us sees a UFO in the sky because that UFO only wanted me or you to see it. We know that there are times in the forest where a Sasquatch could be making noise and you're the only one who hears it. Out of a group of 4 or 8, maybe 2 of you hear it. How does that happen? Right? And until we can solve those little mysteries, you cannot exclude anybody or anything. Now, look, if you're a good enough skeptic and you still keep a skeptical view on your shoulder, you're going to be able to know what is BS and what is not. It's only obvious. Right? But for people who are playing the game on a daily basis, you can't throw what's proof to them in the garbage because you don't believe it or there is no evidence. Because if that person produces a photo, it's photoshopped. If that person produces a video, that's CGI or that's been edited. Right?
Right.
You can't do it. So my question is, if we can't trust video, okay, and everybody always asks, well, how come we've never got another Patterson Gimlin type film? They're out there. But I can tell you right now, if I had the next Patterson Gimlin type film, I sure as hell would never release it to the public. I would release it to friends of mine like Nate Rudd or Duke or you guys. Okay, I would totally do that because I trust your opinion. You're not going to throw me under the bus. But if you look at Bob Gimlin, who's now 94 years old, he's still living a life of hell by people calling him with death and his family with death threats, with tell the truth, you old bastard, every day. That's almost 60 years of harassment that he has got. Would you want that? I wouldn't. If I had the smoking gun video, screw you all. You're never seeing it.
Yeah. That's how it is. You know,
it's like your portal video. I would never release it. Never release it. I can't.
It's not up to me. I'm not the one that took it, and the head of my team. I think he has other plans. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what's going to happen with that video, but we have it. I have still shots of it too. I actually have those. But yeah, it's people aren't going to believe it anyways. And we actually have 2 people who walked into it, and I've interviewed them. Well, Tim passed away, but Bob, I've interviewed him at least twice on my YouTube channel and on my shows. So 2 or 3 times. Y'all check it out because he walked into it and came out and lived to tell about it. So it's fascinating. See, that's the thing that I like to do. And Dave, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of Space Out Radio, to have a show there so I can bring on people like Bob and other people on my teams and people who do the research so we can all tell our stories. You know, that's how the disclosure happens, is people who have actually had these experiences, who have been on the front lines, boots on the ground, doing research for many, many years. That's how we you know, solve some of these mysteries. And it's a blessing, you know, to be able to do that. So thank you, Dave. I appreciate that.
Oh, you make us better. You make us better.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You know,
and the guys at Texas Front Porch too, Rob, you too. Because I had a show with you guys for a while too.
Oh yeah,
so
no, you did.
Thank y'all.
Well, you know, it's always an honor when you're on. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this with me for the who knows how long, Jessica. We still got to work out the details for the new year. But with that being said, Dave, you had brought up something about how come, or Jessica, maybe it was 4 people standing in the woods, 1 person sees a UFO or a Sasquatch. And maybe this is more towards you, Jessica. Why do you think that is? Like, I heard a report of 3 people, they were in the woods. And of the 3 people, 1 person, in fact, was looking at a Sasquatch, according to the report. Now, this person also in the past has seen a Sasquatch. The other 2 never did. So why is it that if 3 people staring dead at something, only 1 can see it? Why is that?
There's a bunch of reasons for that, actually. I don't have all the answers to that. I can say that I've taken reports of a group of 4 people who 2 people saw a 7 to 9 foot Sasquatch jump out of a tree. The other 2 saw a 7-inch squirrel. Okay. So that happens. Also, there have been times where, you know, like I've told the story before about the orbs in my home. My son and I both saw them with our own eyes. My son's father could not see them except for through his camera phone. There's times where I've heard somebody voices and I'm walking in between 2 people and I'm the only one who heard it. A voice say something to me. It was directed at me and they didn't hear it. Very loud too, by the way. It's all about, first of all, I think it's on the frequency. We're all on different frequencies. Okay. And so some people are going to hear things that other people are not. Some people are going to see things that other people are not. We're all vibrating differently. It's all about the intention, perhaps, of whatever is the phenomenon is. Perhaps you're getting screen memories of some sort. I mean, there's no telling. Things could be being projected into your mind. Not everybody else's. There's a whole host of different outlets, different ways. There's different facets to all of this. So it's all different. It's all about your perception of reality as well. I feel like I'm talking about the Matrix right now. Depends on which version of the Matrix you're living, apparently.
Well, just like we started in the beginning, it all is like a matrix. It all comes full circle. It all comes full circle. And Dave, I
Yeah.
just got a text. And my refrigerator is about to be delivered in 2 minutes or 2 minutes out. So I'm going to have to reconvene. But I got to say, Dave, again, it's a pleasure having you on the show, man. Thank you ever so much.
Oh, anytime, man. Anytime. I love you, Bigfoot Rob. You've been a good fan of mine, and anything I can do to support you and your channel, I will absolutely always do it, man.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. And everybody, please subscribe to Spaced Out Radio, Dave Scott, if you haven't already. Subscribe to the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones. And, I see Super Dukes out there. Hit up Super Duke at World Bigfoot Radio as well. I learned a lot from Duke. I met Duke after my first encounter, and he's helped me a great deal, buddy. If you're out there listening, I do appreciate all that you provide. Tonight, everybody go see Dave Scott. He comes on at 12 my time, which is East. Don't forget Jessica Jones. She's got a great show going on tonight. Subscribe to her channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob. With that being said, I hear a pounding at my back door, and I have to get my brand new refrigerator. Love you all. Peace. Thank you. Thanks for the super chats. God bless. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.